Hey there, Instagram. It is Tuesday. I hope some of you caught the live that I did yesterday with Nick Townsend. I had a really good conversation with him, basically about business, how to start, where you need to be. Nick comes on live every now and then, and so I'll come in and chime if I have time to chime in. And so I chimed him on yesterday's call. We had a great conversation about just understanding, who's your client? Do you really understand that you want to be in business and you want to do the things that you need to do? And so I always get, whenever I go live, I typically get a lot of people that come and ask, do I do mentoring? I no longer really do mentoring anymore. I used to, but my schedule doesn't give me the time and flexibility of mentoring like I would like it to. So I give kind of different things where I've had conversation, whether it's been on my YouTube channel or it's been based around my book. A lot of people don't know that I wrote a book. I wrote a book in 2017. It's called Esthetician Gameplan, Pay Myself. And it's actually a workbook that I developed for people to learn how to pay themselves correctly. I actually have a tip challenge, which was one of the biggest things that we did, how to challenge yourself to pay off your bills by using your tips if you're still getting tips. It's a really easy way, a really easy read. I love the book because then you can fill it out. I have a day rate and how to pay yourself daily, how to pay yourself weekly, how to come up with those equations. All of those were here in my book. And I'm really proud of it because I tackled a lot of things in the book, but I discussed a lot of things that a lot of solo and brand new estheticians go through when they open their business, and that's paying themselves last and not first. Or some of us just never pay ourselves at all. So our debt becomes bigger, our spending habits become worse, and we never really get a handle on it. So when I was writing the book, and my husband actually authored, he was the editor of it. When I was writing it, I was really very specific on certain things that I wanted to help people with. Debt is always one, because it seems to be one that we don't really tackle that much as a business owner. And then your goals. So I have a section in the book about goals, what your goals are, writing them down. It's very therapeutic to write your goals down. It's very therapeutic. And also part of my daily mantras would be how much I wanted to make every day. The goals that I wanted to have are all written down. So if you get a chance, you can click the link in my bio I suggest getting the workbook and not getting the ebook, even though I have both options. The workbook and writing it down is very therapeutic and having you see it. I talk about my credit card debt. I talked about social media, and then challenging client retention, all of those things that a lot of people just don't talk about all the time. But it's not a hard read. I think the total pages, including my acknowledgments, came to 26. So 26 pages. So it's not very hard, but the workbook is very helpful for those of you who are looking to get out of debt, if you're looking to organize yourself, if you're looking to have some accountability. I just kind of give the things that I started with all of those years ago to slowly get myself out of debt. And then I progressed very aggressively when I said I'm not going to buy certain things, spend money on vacations, spend money on new cars. I'm going to focus 100% on my debt. That came later, and I was supposed to do another book, so I probably need to start working on the second game plan once you start paying yourself, how to get yourself truly out of debt, like what's the equations that you need to have. But many of the people who do buy the book come and send me a message and say, thank you so much for the book. There's very honest and raw things that you share that I have often felt. I've gotten a lot of people who have said, I've never had anyone break down really how to use your tips really strategically. Like I've always had it cash in hand. There's never been a game plan on how to use your tips to get out of debt, pay down your credit cards, save. Tips are an easy way to save because it's cash, and the whole cash wallet method is kind of the same thing. But many people really just kind of want help. And I think the biggest thing is coming to the understanding that your livelihood, your business, whatever you have that is challenging to you won't change until you acknowledge it. Once you acknowledge it, then you need to have the game plan to get rid of it. You need to strategically understand how to tackle it. At the same time, you need to acknowledge your money spending habits and the habits that you have and the feelings you have around the money that you have. So whether it's lack of, too much debt, no control. And the control can go both ways. Control can be out of control spending, and then out of control money making decisions, or money issues where you spend it and you don't have it. All of those things are very psychological and also emotional. When I was mentoring all those years ago, and I had quite a few estheticians that I mentored, and we would start talking about the money relationship, a lot of people would really get emotionally angered by it because it was something that they just felt was not needed in order for them to be a successful business owner. And I often say most people who have money issues in their personal lives, the money issues show up in the business, and then that business becomes stagnant because we never tackled the money issues in our personal lives, which rolled over into the business and it affected the business. If you are a business owner and the business owner is your 100% livelihood, meaning everything you make in the business and you pay yourself is based off of just the business, then you have no choice but to tackle those money issues. And when you tackle those money issues, it can be very small. My biggest issue was cash. Cash has always been something that's been very emotional for me because I never gave it accountability. So when I would get tips, I never counted them. I just put them into my wallet. I would be out shopping somewhere for something I may not need. I would pull out a wad of tips that I rolled up, because I would roll them up and then roll them and just kind of have them in my wallet in different compartments, or just have them in my purse. And I would just grab a wad. And then that's when I would go through and see how much cash I had. So I really wasn't accountable for it. And then I was spending it on things I did not need. I was spending them on the things that I wanted. So when I started challenging myself to pay off a certain credit card, I got a tip jar, and I would hide the tip jar because I couldn't see how much cash I had, because if I knew in my mind how much cash I had, I was going to find a way to spend it. So I took that same thing and just took that wad in there every day, and then I put it in the jar, and I hid that jar in the back of the closet, and I would never count it, only when I wanted to make a big payment on my credit card. So that for me was a learning lesson to understand how I respond to cash. Now, fast forward, I really don't carry cash. I only carry cash when I need it. And if I need it, I physically have to go to the bank to get it. And then I have to use it for what I'm purposing it for. And if I have a little bit left over, it's going to stay in my wallet. I'm not going to look at it, or it's going to stay in a little compartment in my car. It's not something I'm going to pay attention to, because I'm not going out with the intention of spending money on things that I don't need. So I have really become accountable to cash, and I've become really accountable to cash and the intention of what I'm going to be spending it on. When I had my mentoring group, I did the challenge with every single group, because I would do a new mentoring group every year. And I did this for about 5 years. And I challenged them to cut up their debit cards. So your personal debit card along with your business debit card do not have access to either of your accounts, your business account and or your personal account. And when I did the challenge, I was very taken back about how many people were so upset at the fact that they did not have access to their money, even though they didn't need to have access to it, or there was nothing for them to spend. They just liked the comfort of that card being in their wallet, knowing at any time, any place, anywhere they were at, if they were at a whim and they had to have the ability to spend money, that they had it. And I said, so that feeling is what you have to work on, because not having your personal check card or your business check card means that you actually physically have to think about, what am I spending on and how am I going to get the money to spend it on what I need? So it's not a response, because if you're a swiper, and I learned this, if you're a swiper, you're not accountable. If you have to write a check to yourself and then go to the bank and then watch that money be withdrawn and handed to you, now you have accountability. So when I challenged them to cut up their cards, the emotional response to them was so overwhelming. Some people sat with it for 2 days, and then they came in and they said, oh my gosh, I never knew that I was attaching my feelings and the relationship to money to a plastic piece of card. And I said, okay, so let's stay there. The fact that you don't have a debit card, the fact that you don't have a debit checking card, anything attached to your business checking account or your personal checking account, how has that changed the way you looked at the money that you have? And some said, I knew what it was in the account because it wasn't going anywhere. And then when I wrote a check, or I went into the bank and they made me write a check to withdraw, it was very easy because I knew exactly what was coming out. And I said, let's stay there. Because if you're swiping all the time, I'm pretty sure most people you're not keeping a ledger, right? You don't balance your checkbook. Do you know how to balance your checkbook? Are you writing down every transaction? No. So that was step 2 in the money accountability, was to write down every transaction you did daily as well as weekly. And so when I took away everyone's debit cards and made them write down every transaction they did, it was very aware and very obvious that once those debit cards went away, they were able to save money. Why am I saying all of this? Because most people don't take accountability for what they spend it on. Even if you save your receipt, you're still not going to take accountability. So when I would make them write it down, you're going to write down everything you spent on today, and you're going to write down everything you spent on for the entire week, including the weekend. You're going to write it down and become accountable, because now there's a place for you to see, this is how much I spent. So by taking that debit card away, it became even easier for people to start saving. Because what I found out is most people don't save. They don't have a savings. There's no automatic money that goes into a savings that they don't have access to. So my savings account is an account that we do not have checks for. We do not have a debit card for. It's literally a savings account. There is deposits that go into that savings account every single week, and it's automatically put into there. So there's no question, there's no hesitation, it's going to savings. Now, if I need to go into the savings account, I physically have to go to another bank, because it's not at the bank that I do checking with. I have to go to another bank to get money out of the savings. So when I sat down with myself, and really it came from me writing the book. When I wrote my book, this was really another level of being accountable and understanding my mind and how I was thinking about it. And knowing that if I can do the tip challenge and pay off my credit cards, if I can do the tip challenge and pay off my car, if I can do and no longer have a check card or a debit card attached to my checking accounts, if I get rid of all of them, then I will have the amount of money I need to do the things that I want, but I'm accountable for it. And so it was really changing that mindset from, oh, I always have access to it because I can swipe it at any time, to, oh, I can't swipe it at any time, and I have to be accountable to it, and I have to physically go get it in order for me to do it. That's what kind of changed the mindset. So if you're a person and you're really ready to start tackling your money issues, if you're really ready to start looking at what you do and what you can do better, I always say get my paperback version of the book. Don't get the e-copy version of the book. It does have worksheets in it for you. The tip challenge is in there, your daily rate pay, how much you want to earn daily, how to pay yourself, where it needs to go. All of that is in there for you to write down. You can always copy this. The debt challenge for credit cards, the debt challenges for how to pay off your car. All of those things can take place really, really easy. You just have to know what your responses and your emotions are around the money that you have. If you have easy access to it, you're not going to take accountability. So what I did is I took away how easy it was for me to spend it. So when I go over to the credit card side, my book is called Esthetician Gameplan, Pay Myself. It's in my bio. If you click the link in my bio, I do have it in my link tree. It gives you the link to give you the option for the ebook or the paperback. And I always say get the paperback because then you can write in the book. So you really can start understanding what it is that you're trying to get to your goal. If your goal is to emotionally work on how you respond to money, or how easy you want the understanding of, I'm not going to emotionally respond when I buy something. I'll never forget, I have a good friend that said, every time I place an order, I get so anxious. And I'm like, why are you getting anxious? And I said, look, that's a money issue, right? Do you have the money to pay for the order? Yes. Do you need the products you're placing the order for? Yes. So why is there anxiety around it? Because I think that's on the opposite end. My anxiety was because I was spending money recklessly. No accountability. Some of the stuff I didn't even need. And the other end of people who are anxious about spending money, to me, are kind of one and the same. Is there something that is not an entrepreneur can follow? Your book. No, the book is really for people who are in debt, who are business owners or an entrepreneur getting themselves out of debt. It's pretty specific to estheticians and people in the beauty industry who also get tips. It's very, very specific. I don't have something for an entrepreneur who's not really in the beauty industry. That's kind of my, it's kind of where my circle is. It's where I've been the last 18 years is in the beauty industry. So that's really where I stay. I don't have more of a general thing because I don't have experience in other industries, if that makes sense. My industry has been beauty, esthetician, from working as an esthetician to becoming a spa owner and hiring employees to distribution and making products and all of that. So that's really where my niche is. I don't really have experience outside of that. So I don't really have anything to give on that. So sorry. So yeah, the book is really specifically for people who are in, and that's why I call it the Esthetician Gameplan. Pay myself. It's really for estheticians who are very new in the business, who are not even new. You're just at a point where you're ready to start doing some things different. And you're ready to pay yourself first and not pay yourself last or what's left over. You're also ready to tackle your debt. You're ready to tackle your credit card issues. You're ready to tackle how you handle your tips, where your tips go. You're ready to be accountable for all of that. But I love doing it. In my mentoring group, I did it every year. I actually started off the year with this, and the challenge with our tip challenge was a group challenge. There's actually 2 estheticians still doing that. One paid off her car. She made a big post about it in my group. She paid off her car doing the tip challenge for about 3 years and paid off her car early. And so once you put your mind to it, and once you understand how your mind is when it comes especially to cash, then it becomes very easy to say, I'm going to put it in my tip jar. I'm going to use the technique and only count my money maybe once a week or every other week or once a month. And then I'm going to put it to my biggest bill. It's pretty simple. But I think we're all coming to a point where you're wanting to understand at some point, get a grasp on what it is that money makes you feel. Why does it make you feel anxious in certain situations? Why do you not take accountability for what you have in your hands? And when are you ready to allow that part to be out in the open so that you can work on your personal habits? You can work on your personal credit. And then it'll flow over into your business credit. And all of those things. Because you got to do your home first before you work on the business. That's just really how it works, because those habits have to be ingrained into you. And it has to be something that you voluntarily do. It can't be something that I tell you to do. You actually have to do it on your own in order for it to really catch and really make a big difference in yourself. It has to be something that you genuinely want to do. For me, it came in multiple different ways. I would say it was more of a reoccurring theme. When I got in trouble with the business, when I started using my business credit card for cash advances, when I started using my personal credit card for cash advances, when I started seeing that my business was growing, but I didn't have enough cash, so I became desperate, when I was making really bad decisions on what I purchased or how I purchased. And then on top of all of that, not paying myself on time or paying myself what was left over always left a detriment in my home. So when I didn't have enough to take care of my livelihood, my home, my roof, my food, it rolled over into the business because I was taking money out of the business to cover myself instead of putting myself on payroll, instead of paying myself first and not last, instead of it started including myself in the business expenditures, my payroll starting to be included into that budget. Because when I used to do budgets, I didn't include my salary, my hourly pay, whatever you want to add to that. It wasn't included. I only would include what I need to spend on retail, what did I need to spend on overhead, and that's it. My salary wasn't included in the business expense. When I started including my salary into the business expense, then I was able to pay myself first. And it wasn't what was left over. It was budgeted in there. And that's why it's always important to know your cost per service. That's why it's always important to know the services that are on your service menu. Each number that's represented on your menu has to reflect the money that you are going to make. It can't all go back into the business. It can't go all back into retail. You have to be figured into that specific cost so that it comes to you. Not only does it come to you first, but that it comes to you every time you do that service. So when I started learning that and I started understanding, okay, now I'm in a part of the business expenses. Now I'm a part of the equation. Then my home was going to be taken care of. And it took me a while. I mean, I say it in the book, 10 years. It took me 10 years to figure out my money habits, how I was spending my tips, when I was including myself in the payroll, when I wasn't including myself in the payroll. Why was I taking money out of the business to cover my home expenses? And then I would have the business be in a detriment, take the money that I put into my personal account and put it back into the business account. Like, it was going back and forth every other day, which was absolutely ridiculous. So I really had to get a handle on it. And I knew deep down I wasn't going to be able to expand the business until I really handled the personal and then made better decisions in the business. It's really important to know, as a new esthetician, I'm struggling on how to secure my pay as an employee. I actually go over this in the book, believe it or not. I started paying myself $25 a week. And that's in my, I think it's in my pay myself section. Yeah, so I figured out my daily rate and how much I wanted to pay. I started off with $25 a day. It increased to $100, and then I'm still using that same equation today. And at 2016, I was paying myself $600 a day, and I pay myself way more of that now. So it doesn't have to be a big number. And I think that's what a lot of estheticians fall in the hole with, because you feel, oh, I want to make $500 a day. Yeah, you can eventually, but you need to start off with something and be consistent. When I first started Smooth Skin Supply, I did everything on PayPal. So every day I would go and pay myself $25 a day. Like, I physically, because I had a PayPal debit card, I physically would swipe and take $25 out of the bank or go to the bank or whatever I was doing and physically put the cash into my hands every single day. And then I did 50. Then I did 100. And then when I got to 100 a day, I started my payroll, and then I was paying myself $500 a week with payroll. So it was going back into Social Security, going back into disability. And then I had my 401k, and that's really how I started my payroll. But yeah, I paid myself $25 a day to start off. And that was literally me. So it had nothing to do with the business. And I find that a lot of estheticians don't even pay themselves $25 a day. And then go to 50 and then go 100. That's $500 a week. Most estheticians don't consistently pay themselves $500 a week. They'll take a draw, and sometimes that draw may be $100 or $200, but I've not found too many estheticians that consistently pay themselves $500, $600, $700 a week as payroll. No, because they haven't sat down to figure out the equation in order to get them that much weekly. And the reason I put it into the book is because the daily rate for some of us is $25 when you see that, to put it into your pocket can be okay for you to stomach it and understand it's a part of your budget. And like I said, 25 didn't stay at 25. It went to 50, and then it went to 100, then it went to 250, 500, 600, 800. So we're obviously higher than that now. But it's about the action of putting you as a part of the business and then putting you first. So being able to have something in your hand every day, and the $25 did not include tips or anything like that. That was just the $25 just for me. Then, like I said, once I got to $100 cash a day that I was paying myself, I went and then started payroll. What's the difference where your oil from you pay? I'm not sure what that means, the difference of where you're pay from. Not sure what that means. If you can bring that back in a different question. You have oil in there, so I'm not sure what the oil means. So I'm not sure if that's a typo or what that is. But yeah, do something very reasonable. And in order for you to find reasonable, you got to kind of have an equation. You got to figure out how much you make a day. And can you give yourself a flat rate every day? Yes, I keep my tips. What's the difference where you pull the money from if you're paying yourself? And see, that's a question where I absolutely know that you're not paying yourself. So in order for you to be a very successful business owner, you need to pay yourself from your business, and it needs to go to your personal. If you only have one account, or you pay yourself on a draw, which means you're taking money out of the account and giving it to yourself, that's very different than setting up a business checking account and then having yourself be an expense, or yourself salaried or on a payroll, and you're paying yourself regularly to your personal account. So you're going to have to separate the two. So if you draw, you need to have some kind of accountability on that draw. Because at some point, in order for you to be profitable, you're going to have to include yourself in the business expense as well as your taxes. You're going to need to pay into your Social Security, pay into your disability, and do all of that, which is why I have a payroll company that does it for me. So it's automatic. So there's only so long you're going to be able to stay on a draw. And for me, once I hit that $100 a day that I was paying myself a draw every day, was the time that I started putting myself on payroll, which means it was easier for me to pay $500 every week to myself, include the Social Security and the disability and all of that and taxes, and then actually put myself on payroll every single week. So I have paid myself every single week since I started my business. That was one goal that I did. But I do think a lot of people don't understand how you cannot stay on a draw forever. You're going to need to contribute to Social Security, contribute to your disability in the event that you get injured. I always encourage opening a 401k, even if you put $50 a week or $25 a week into your 401k, have that there. Do you have a savings that you want to put money into automatically? Have all of that done under a payroll system. That way you are included into the business as an expense. And that's another way how you pay yourself first. And if you ever want to go into the bigger, there's a great book called Profit First, and that's Mike Michalowicz, and he tells you to break up your business into about 7 different banking accounts, where you have a payroll account, you have your income account, you have your overhead account, your sales tax account, your gift certificate account, your owner's bonus account, and there's a couple other ones. So I like the book. I haven't gotten to the 7 different accounts yet. I'm not sure if I'll ever get to 7 different ones. But I do have different bank accounts that certain money goes into those accounts to take care of that. Like, I love the one account that we have is specifically just for overhead. So everything that goes into there is to cover the rent and everything else. And then that's what pays the rent. And so it's not with another account that we make all of our money in. I like the way I have that set up because it's a little bit more easier to swallow. The next account I'll do would probably be a separate payroll account, to where all the payroll is just done from there and it's not affecting anything else. But yeah, running a business and starting a business is a lot, especially if you want to do it right and you want to see and have profit. You want to have, you got to get a bookkeeper at some point to take care of everything. You have your receivables and your payables and all of that. It was nice because when the PPP loans came out, it was easy for us to send off everything from QuickBooks, and it went directly there, and they approved everything because everything was written down. The payroll company provided me everything that I needed to get the PPP loan. So it was really easy. So I didn't have any issues with it, getting the PPP loan or getting it forgiven, because everything was written down and everything was in order. So, a lot of things come out of money issues when your money issues aren't tackled with, because they will affect a lot. And so I find a lot of small business owners, especially in the beauty industry, don't have everything in a row. So when it does come time to really understand what you're doing, you become lost like everyone else. The name of the book I was talking about is called Profit First. It's by Mike Michalowicz. He's a great guy. I've actually been on live with him with Maxine Drake. She was the one that introduced me to him. He has a great philosophy. Thank you. My curls are popping today. I washed my hair. So, my Adwa Beauty. And Adwa Beauty actually came out with a new line. So I'm hoping to do something with that too. But anyway, so my book really goes over the pain points of paying yourself, the pain points of tackling debt, the pain points of understanding, cash in, cash out. What is your relationship? How do you feel? Can you do more constructive things with the cash that comes into your business? Absolutely. Can you do more things with the tips that come into your business? Absolutely. But how are you being accountable with it? The challenge of taking away your debit card and taking away your check card or debit card for your personal as well as the business, in my opinion, was the best decision that I ever made, because now I physically have to be accountable for how I spend it. Even if I spend it on a credit card, my goal with our credit card is to pay it off every week. So every week our cards are paid off, so we don't carry a balance. And that takes time to get to. That also takes a lot of discipline. You have to be very, very disciplined to get to that level. Yes, my book is out. My book actually came out in 2017. So I've had this book out now for 4 years. It's down here, September 2017. It's because I was supposed to write another book, and so it's been that long since I haven't. Any insight on how much you should pay employees? Does that book cover that? No, it doesn't. Your employee, it really depends on how you want to run your business. Do you want to be a commission only? Do you want to be an hourly plus commission? And then what can you afford? What is your cost per service? I know Angela Green is on here. Angela, if you can go ahead and post your link to the cost per service sheet, please, that would be great. Off topic, do you have to have a license in order to wax? Yes, you do. In every state, you have to have a license to wax. So yes. So when you are wanting to figure out what your employees is your services priced right to include the cost of your employees, which comes down to your cost per service. The reason I love the cost per service sheet is because you can put in there the hourly rate of whether it's yourself or an employee, and then what you need to be able to charge to cover that hourly rate. So if you have a $50 Brazilian, but your expenses are only going to be 25, then your profit is gone. Because if you're going to pay somebody $12, $13, $14, $15 an hour, they're going to have to do at least 6 an hour in order for you to do that. Thank you, Ange. Let me go ahead and pin this. I'm going to pin it. Thank you so much. The cost per service will get you that because it breaks it down by hour. And I do feel that most people, when they get employees, they want to do commission but don't know their numbers. And then they want to do hourly plus commission and they still don't know their numbers. So you got to know your numbers on what you're advertising, and it has to cover your overhead, has to cover the cost of the products that they need to do the service. You also have to understand what is a reasonable cost for an employee. This is why retail is so important, because if you're not retailing, the retail as a business owner is what puts money into your pocket. That also will help cover your expenses that go beyond everything else, because having an employee is not just paying their hourly rate. You still have to pay into their disability. You got to pay into Social Security. Sometimes you have your workers' comp insurance. You also have to take an accountability as well. So retail is a big part of business that most business owners and solo owners and multiple owners do not understand that equation either, which is why it's really important to have retail in your business. Retail is what puts money in your pocket. The services is what covers your overhead. So that's really the bigger equation, but I do encourage everyone to get the cost per service sheet, because that is what will break down how much you need to charge for the service. If you're not charging correctly for the service, then you can't afford to have employees. And here's the thing about employees. The employee may not be someone that does what you do. If I ever decide to go back into the treatment room, which I probably won't, but if I ever did, it would really be to hire someone to assist me. Someone who was great in sales, someone who would upsell my retail, someone who would take care of all of my calls, my clients, bring them in, bring them out, turn over my room, but they would assist at what I do really well. When you start adding on people who do what you do, or estheticians or whoever, and I did it all. I had front desk, I had massage, I had estheticians, I had a whole spa. So I understand what it comes from. You have to remember you're going to pay them first, and then you're going to get what's left over. But if you don't price your services correctly and you don't retail strong, then you're going to be paying them more than you make. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn as well. So that's why I'm a big advocate of retail. So if you're not retailing, you have to. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're doing hair, nails, skin, massage, it doesn't matter. You need to retail. You absolutely have to retail if you want to have a profitable business. Thank you, Angela, for posting your Instagram. She's at Skin Biz School on Instagram, and then her link is cost per service, and that is what I teach from. So even for my mentoring group, those of you who are in my mentoring group, you all know we all did cost per service. Some people, when I used to do my live trainings here, I would have I would have people come here every year and work one-on-one with me in a group style setting, and we would do cost per service in person. and people would cry when they realized that they were not making money. There was a lot of people that were in the red because I would have you bring your service menu, and then we would plug it in onto the screen, and a lot of it was in negative. So a lot of people were working for free. The cost per service is a great tool if you need a wake-up call, especially when you're increasing prices, especially when you increase your hourly rate. So if you don't know what you're yielding every hour based off of the services you provide, that's why you need the cost per service link right there we have pinned. The other thing is as well is that when you look at doing a price increase, if you're not factored into that equation as well, when you increase the price, you need the cost per service. If you're going to be getting employees in the future and you have a service menu that may not be as strong as it should be, you need to click the link for the cost per service so that you know, because employees come with expenses over than their hourly rate. So you need to plug in those numbers and know exactly what you need to charge, and then charge it. Don't skim around. Don't play around. People ain't go buy it. Then they're not your clients. Okay. Any more questions before I jump off? I didn't plan on being on here this long. If you are interested in getting my Esthetician Game Plan Pay Yourself book, I always suggest getting the paperback. You can click the link in my bio and get that for you. I have worksheets and I have things that you can fill out. Your tip challenges in here as well, which is a great one if you still are getting tips to keep track of your tips. And a great way to use it to set up to pay off big bills that you have, whether it's a car note, whether it's a really big credit card. It's a great way to pay down your bills really quickly. And like I said, that's how I started handling my money issues, because I have money issues and I was never really able to admit that. I made excuses about it. I did things that I was not supposed to do, but I really wasn't accountable either. So having an accountability partner is really important. My husband is my accountability partner. I'm grateful for him because he allowed me to sit in my mess and figure out on my own. There would be spurts of embarrassment that would come in because he would call to my attention things that I was doing. And so I had to in turn respond to them. And I was responding in anger and embarrassment because at the age that I was and the amount of success that I had done and the amount of money I had made, I really was not still accountable for my money habits, what I was spending on. And did I need them or did I just want them? So, I do plan on, Rudy and I plan on coming together with a podcast. We're trying to work on that as soon as we can to really discuss the goals that we have. We were able to pay off his car in a year, which was a very challenging feat, but it was a great feat to do and to say that even in a pandemic, we were able to pay off a car in 1 year. A lot of that comes with discipline. A lot of that comes with very important and strategic money-making decisions, as well as money spending decisions. And there's things that we do that most people just don't do. So we're really open to share those things. The other part that we really are encouraged with a lot is that a lot of people reach out to us and just say, how do you do it? I have tried. And I just really say my story. I was where you are. I mean, when I met him, 6 years ago, my credit score is 500. 583, I think it was. It was really bad. I had a lot of debt in the business. I had a lot of debt personally, and I had been carrying it on my back for years. I can honestly say last year, 2020, was the first year that I had not had personal debt, we had gotten rid of all of our personal debt. I shouldn't say ours, because I should say it's mine, because Rudy didn't come to the relationship with debt. So when I got rid of all my debt and started working on my credit score, that has been the point that I love to discuss with him and share with him, because my credit score is over 800, but I did it with the intentions of understanding how it can be done when someone has issues with money. Because there's a lot of people that will talk to you about making money. They'll talk to you about how you can make more money. All of these people that are all over social media. No one really talks about the struggles that they have with money, and whether it's lack of or even when they have money, the issues that go through their heads, because it's been ingrained in you so long to emotionally respond in certain ways to money. We just don't talk about it. You can't wait to finish school so I can train with you. Oh, you're so sweet. So yeah, that's kind of where I've been coming from for the last couple lives. I've been coming from a place of really understanding that you got to break down some thoughts and money habits and things that you may not want to. You may not even know some of the money habits that you have. Like when I said earlier, when I challenged my mentoring group, when I used to mentor, I always told them, we're going to do a card cutting event. So get your card, cut up your debit card, and cut up your business debit card. Now you got to figure out how to really do business. Your bank card is thanking Stephanie, I needed this awakening. You really need to let go of that stronghold that a lot of people have on that plastic, because it gives you a way of not being accountable of what you spend your money on. And you have to be accountable if you want to be a successful business owner. It has to happen at home, and then it has to roll over into your business. And the fastest way to do that is to get rid of your debit card. Cut it up. Do not use it. Don't even have access to it. And for some, that gave me, they were emotionally responding, I can't do it. No, you can. You're going to need to. So if you want to get to the level that you want to get to, you got to get over this one thing. And this is just one of many. So if you can cut these cards up and then start figuring out how you spend money and being more accountable for the money that you have, you're going to grow. If you keep being in the same space that you're at over and over again and keep doing the same bad money habits, you're not going to grow. So it's up to you. You'll only grow when you tackle your issues and you deal with them. If you don't want to have more clients, more income, more freedom, more vacations, then you won't, because you're not willing to sit down and look at the money issue. But you're going to have to at some point. Because if you start losing money because of the money decisions and the money habits that you have, it's going to take you a long time to recover. So let's just start from the bottom. Let's get rid of the number one issue for a lot of them is swiping. You swipe with absolutely no accountability. You don't write down anywhere how much you spend. You don't keep a ledger of your expenses. You don't keep a ledger of what you spend on your credit card. So let's start there. All right, guys, click the link in my bio if you want to go ahead and get my book. Click the link here for the Cost Per Service by Angela Green. I really appreciate a lot of you guys coming on and joining me. Make sure you click the little bell above my name to make sure you know when I'm coming back on live, and we'll have more conversations on this same thing. And I hope all of you guys have a great Tuesday. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.